How you doing?
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
I hope you have a good day.
Hope you have a better week.
I hope your month is full of successful days and a lot of great ventures. I hope you just come up, brother.
I hope your whole fucking year is spectacular.
Oh, you hope my year is spectacular?
Yeah.
You got something you want to say?
You got something?
Next month is April, but you can't be a fool if you want to survive in this ring. You want to get on the show, you got to have pride, you got to have power, you got to stay hungry. You got to devour every single other person on this show, or they'll overpower you. They'll yell over you. It's like you'll be here, but they can't see you. So what you got to do is you got to knock, let your devil in. Be ready for all contenders, because you're going to have to saw bone. You're going to have to shred ego. You got to be a giant.
I can kill you now.
You got to be whatever persona you want to be if you want to face everyone here or risk being under their heels. With that, for Paige, for Peggy, for Nate, and for the outlaw, one John Roca, we are out. What up, family? It's your boy Amaru, and yes, we are 2 weeks late, but we are back. We are back with another episode of One Gotta Stay. This is supposed to be the April episode because WrestleMania was out, but again, we had to push it, but it's okay because we're here with the show that gives you 4 impossible options to just pick one. Only one gets to stay and the rest are gone forever. And today we are talking about wrestling royalty. We got 4, technically more than 4, but 4 choices of movies and television shows for the wrestlers we've grown up and loved to see which one of them would stay and the rest are gone forever. And today, the panel with me is one that you may know and 3 first-timers, which I'm really, really happy to have on. And one, she's a member of the Bitesize crew. No matter what, where she goes, she always will be. But I'll start over here. I like to call him the CEO, the man who has brought all of this together, Mr. Bitesize Breakdown himself, Mr. Nick Van Dinder. Nick, you're back. I know it takes a certain kind of show to get you on screen, so I'm happy. How are you feeling today?
It does take a certain type of thing, but this is step 1 into Bitesize getting more wrestling content. This is my way in because it's performance. So I think we can probably do future One Gotta Stays in the wrestling universe because that's what I grew up loving. So I definitely want to talk about that every chance I get.
Well, I'm very happy to have you on. Next to him, he told me I can call him the doctor, the professor, whatever we want to call him. But from King of Sports podcast and Post Wrestling, you saw his podcast mate, Nate the Great, on last episode. So we had to get Dr. Professor Christopher Ealy. Chris, how are you feeling today?
I feel fine. I'm always the resident Dwayne Johnson defender when I get on these circles. But when it comes to this kind of thing, my mind can be changed. You know, I'm never married to like anything if an argument is compelling enough. So.
Well, we'll see if you do that or if you'll cuss somebody out. By the way, you can cuss if you like. I didn't throw that out there beforehand, but we'll see what happens. Under him, I will admit Nick is the reason he's on the show, and I'm so glad to have him. He has a new podcast on YouTube that is blowing up, Stache Club Wrestling. One, Mr. Dante Turo, their unofficial movie guy, according to him. So let's see how he combines the two. Dante, thank you for coming on. How are you feeling?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you guys for inviting me on. I am the wrestling guy, so I'm very happy to be on an episode where we can talk some wrestling, debate a little bit. Definitely unofficial movie guy. I'm starting to get into like the classics. I have like a letterbox. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that, where you can track movies, rate them, all this and that. So I'm very, very big on that. I have my own movie pass, so I see 5 movies a month for free. I mean, I don't know if it's unofficial, but I mean, you know, you can call it what you want. But I'm very excited to be on here to talk some wrestling and see what we have to debate about.
All right, I haven't heard of Movie Pass in some years, so I'm glad it's still going on and somebody is utilizing it. I appreciate it. And last but not least, once a Bite-Size crew member, always a Bite-Size crew member, part of the Latina Lens podcast. One of the creators, I believe. Please let me know if I'm wrong. But either way, she is here finally, Miss Rosa Parra. Miss Rosa, you are here. How are you feeling? Let's go.
Oh man, it's been a long time coming. Yes, worked for Bitesize for a bit, and finally to get the chance to actually talk to you guys and hear your voices and match it with the face. It's pretty cool. So yeah, excited to be here. Same like you guys. I grew up watching wrestling. I still watch it. I'm looking forward to Backlash today. So yeah, let's get this started.
All right. And if you were wondering who are the choices for today, we'll go through them a little bit. The professor mentioned them. One of them is going to be Mr. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Some of his most famous television and movie roles. You got Ballers, you got Be Cool, which I think is underrated. One of my favorite movies ever in the rundown. Of course, you got the start of the new Fast and Furious franchise, because 1 through 4 are completely different from 5 on. The other guys, Pain and Gain, Moana, and The Mummy. Anytime I can mention The Mummy, I'm going to mention The Mummy. So The Mummy returns. Then next, we got the man you cannot see, because he's never there. One, Mr. John Cena. You got the Suicide Squad, not the original. Peacemaker, Blockers, Bumblebee, probably one of the only good Transformers movies. Psych. Again, another thing I need to, if I'm going to mention it, I'm going to mention it. Psych, the movie and the show. Beautiful. Fighting with My Family. Just a bevy of things. Next up, Guardians Volume 3 is coming out this week, so we had to include Dave Bautista, of course. You got the Avengers films. You got Dune, Knock at the Cabin, Glass Onion, Stuber, Spectre, a whole bunch of things. And then the last choice we get to pick is what we like to call the field. Everybody else. All other wrestlers who have been in other movies. You got the Princess Bride. You got the Punisher. You got Rocky 3. You got Friday. Kudos to anybody who knows who's in that. And The Fifth Element. You got Spider-Man, Fury Road, a whole lot of things. But with that, we are going to get started. And I'm going to kick this one off. So for me, number 4 was by far the easiest choice. When I saw this and me and Nick put this list together, I was like, yeah. I mean, I like the movies. I like the show. But for me, Cena is nowhere near ready to be able to be saved. Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad is great. I like them. Blockers was cool and all. I can't really think of it. I have to be reminded of everything else from Cena. I gotta be reminded of Trainwreck. Again, I gotta be reminded of Bumblebee because I really don't think of Transformers that much. So for me, the easiest out of this all was John Cena. How do you all feel about that? Does anybody else have John Cena at number 4?
I had him at number 4, but I'm going back and forth with him and Bautista.
Yes, I have
because I don't know if I can live without Peacemaker the show. I thought that was good because I always used to argue with people like Cena's never going to be The Rock and Cena's never going to be this. And I didn't love Blockers. It was just your standard Judd Apatow fare. So it's just like, whatever, but Bautista is good too. This was a hard choice for me. This wasn't easy because I think Bautista is good in some of the stuff he's in. The movie he's in with Rob Van Dam and Ja Rule.
You threw out Rob Van Dam and Ja Rule on this. Wow.
Yeah,
I don't even know what that is.
There's a movie with Bautista and Rob Van Dam and Ja Rule.
I think I know what you're talking about. I think I've seen that movie. It's older. It's years older.
Yeah, and Bautista is clearly the best part of the movie. Rob Van Dam is the star of the movie. But when they released the box art for the movie, Bautista's all over it. And Rob Van Dam's name is in smaller letters, so they kind of downgraded it. But Bautista's clearly the best part of it. I'll find the name in a second. But
I got The Wrong Side of Town. I already got
Wrong Side of Town. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
I knew I'd seen it before. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
does anybody else have John Cena at their number 4? No. So you know what? You kicked it off. Kris, you're number 4 then, and you can go into why.
Well, it's just Bautista because I think that Bautista is a better character actor than John Cena, in my opinion. It's the problem with Bautista is just I think that sometimes his roles are overly ambitious, and I don't think he always makes the greatest decisions when it comes to movies. But the stuff that I like him in. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, Stuber is cool for what it is. The movie with the little girl that
not the Tooth Fairy, but
not the Tooth Fairy. There's a movie with it's pretty.
My Spy.
My Spy.
My Spy. That one is good too. It's like it's basically The Rock's movie with his daughter, except
yeah,
Bautista's in the movie, right? So,
but you're gonna lose Avengers. You're gonna lose Infinity War. You're gonna lose all of the Guardians. Knock at the Cabin has been Shyamalan's like ability to show, hey, he can keep it moving. That one kind of hurts, man. At 4?
Yeah, so I do like the Avengers a lot, but I'm not like a gung-ho Avengers fan like a lot of people, you know. I like Captain America Civil War. That's probably my favorite Marvel movie, Black Panther as well. So I can do without Avengers. That's just me.
Oh, okay. I guess so.
That's tough.
Does anybody else have Bautista at their number 4? See, I saw the list and I was like, okay, didn't see that one coming. Sure, fine, but that's fine. We're gonna move over. Rosa, what about you? Rosa, who is your number 4?
Oh my! It's in moments like these where I'm incredibly grateful to not have a large following or influence. Otherwise, I would be canceled for this. But actually, my number 4 is The Rock. I think that to me, when it comes to acting, you just need to make me feel something, and you need to somehow catch my attention. I understand The Rock is he's a superstar. I get it. He has the charisma, and he's everybody's champ pretty much. So for me, every movie he's in, he just plays The Rock. And to me, that's not a good actor. So if I were to put somebody on number 4 and looking at all these wrestlers who either were in just a single movie or so, and John Cena and Bautista, I think The Rock is, for me, the least actor, if that's what we're referring to here. So
you get to choose your list however you want to choose it. It's just the movies you get to see or not. Does anybody else have The Rock at number 4?
Wow.
I do.
Go ahead, Nick.
It's funny when we came up with this list, I was worried that when I looked at this list, I was worried that we were going to have the issue of no variety and everyone was kind of going to have an order, and we've got everyone in someone's number 4 pretty much.
Nick, you think that I've been doing this for a long time, and I think, oh yeah, this is the way the order's going to go. No, not really ever.
Yeah, The Rock's an easy number 4 for me. I grew up like when The Rock was starring his movies, and that list that you had, everything on there I look at of The Rock's that resonates with me is stuff from early in his career. Things like The Rundown, things like Gridiron Gang, things like Walking Tall. Those are like my favorite Rock movies, because I think when he moved over to the film side of things full time, everyone wanted him to be Schwarzenegger. They wanted him to be Bruce Willis. They wanted him to be this kind of next wave of action star. And he never really did it. He had his like Rundown era and stuff like that, which was still very PG friendly. And then he quickly went into the Disney Tooth Fairy game plan side of things. And then I remember he had a movie coming out called Faster with Billy Bob Thornton. And I thought, this is going to be it. This is when he's removed enough from wrestling that this is going to be his turn to be this big time action star. And it just wasn't that good. And everything he's done following that, they've been okay. Like Skyscraper's okay. San Andreas is okay. I enjoy them.
Are they not the same movie in Rampage? I mean, that's what I always thought.
You're not. Yeah. I mean, I hate Rampage. But, and that's the other thing. That is the one thing about The Rock over the other, not including The Field, but the other people on this list is there are movies he'll come out with, and I'll meet it with like an exasperated sigh, or I won't like it, or I'll find he's too much. The Rock was a character in wrestling, but Dwayne Johnson has become a character in and of itself.
Right.
And he's a lot. And I don't find his comedy lands too much. I find his better movies that have come out recently have been when he's with an ensemble, something like Jumanji. But on his own, he never hit that tier that I think he was supposed to, and realistically could have. And the movies like Pain and Gain and Be Cool, where he played something different, they're just so few and far between. I'm
gonna take a little bit of umbrage with this Rock for a second, because I do like the Rundown. To me, when I first saw the Rundown is good. Walking Tall, when I first saw it, I loved the movie, and then after seeing it a couple times, I realized the Rock is the bad guy in that movie. When you really watch it, he's the one that's starting shit with everybody and stuff. And I think the movie is flawed. So I think the movies he's done nowadays do make a little bit more sense. I definitely don't. I do think he is Arnold Schwarzenegger type. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies were never sold for his acting ability. Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies are sold because Arnold Schwarzenegger is in the goddamn movie. That's why his movies make money. That's exactly what The Rock is. The Rock lifts other movies. Like every once in a while he'll do a movie that underperforms or whatever, but if you put The Rock in your movie, it's guaranteed to at least not be a massive flop. And that's what Arnold Schwarzenegger was for the 80s and the 90s, not so much the 2000s, but 80s and 90s, definitely.
For sure. Dante, you've been kind of just down there on your own because I think you are the last one. And I think you're going to make me sad. I mean, process of elimination, you're number 4, sir.
Yeah, my number 4, I took The Field. Honestly, it's just, I see it like we had the options, like we have the Kevin Nashes, the Goldbergs, even more recently, Roman Reigns, who has the top guy in WWE now, has dabbled a little bit in movies. We mentioned guys like Rob Van Dam. I just don't think there's any movie from The Field that really, not that doesn't stand out, but doesn't stick as much to me. Like these the other 3 actors, like the Batistas, the Cenas, the Rocks, there's such a big sample size there. There's just so much to go off of. The Dark Knight.
Because the one thing you got, Tiny Lister. He's in the character actor of The Dark Knight. He's in The Fifth Element. He's in Friday, and that is one thing you got to look into. But hey, this is your choice. So
that's fair. The Dark Knight is one of my favorite movies ever. So that it's hard. It was hard, but I think just kind of looking at, given the respect to the actors, I wanted to at least give these 3, the top 3 nod. That's kind of how I looked at it.
You didn't love The Chaperone?
No, I had to really. That's what made me think. That's what made me want to put it between 3 and 4. But I have to let The Chaperone go. Have to let it go.
There's some horrible.
No love for The Marine 7.
No, there's bad ones in there. There's lots of bad ones in there.
How many? There were 7 of them. I feel like how many? There like 20 or 30 at this point.
Yeah, you're almost convincing me to pick The Field because I'm thinking of some of the movies that I saw that were just
It's
but with
tough.
that, we're gonna
tough list.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead, just quick rundown of everybody's number 4. So I had one, Mr. John Cena. Both Nick and Rosa had The Rock. Dante had The Field, and Kris picked the one that I didn't think ever would be possible, but it happened anyway. So but we're gonna move on. We're gonna go over to one, Mr. Nick. Nick, what is your number 3? Keep that ball rolling.
Yeah, my number 3 is The Field. I totally get where Dante's coming from. This is going to hurt you, Rue. I've never been someone who has been emotionally connected to The Princess Bride. So I feel like that's one of the stronger movies in here. When I look at this list, the one that jumps out is They Live. It's probably the best movie on there.
I've
in
never
terms of
seen
starring
it, and
a
I
wrestler.
don't care.
What?
I've never seen it, and it didn't even cross my mind.
You definitely should see They Live.
That is great.
Movie.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, John Carpenter starring Roddy Piper. Features, I don't know if it still does, but it used to feature the longest continuous fight scene in a film.
With chapter 4. Chapter 4 was pretty
Keith
long.
David and Roddy Piper.
Yeah, him and Keith David have a fist fight in an alley. It's very good. But I think there's a segment of movies that people who only grew up wrestling fans watched. So it's movies like The Condemned and Damage, which were 2 movies that Stone Cold did that I thought were pretty good. And, The Marine and 12 Rounds are fun for what they are when you're looking at the early John Cena career. And I know the name doesn't carry the same weight it used to, but my dad is who got me into wrestling. So I grew up on some of the stuff that he brought to me. So I grew up on a lot of Hogan's early movies. Mr. Nanny, Santa with Muscles, Thunder in Paradise. And when you're like 8 years old, those are a blast. Like, he's a superhero in those movies. Suburban Commando, another one. So when I look at The Field, just kind of the variety that it brings is where it beats out The Rock to me. Yes, there's some trash in there. We mentioned The Chaperone, which I haven't seen, but I do know it's trash.
Any movie with Edge is horrible too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There are winners and losers.
Not great.
And then there's stuff that isn't good, but is like a time waster. Like Netflix did a sitcom with The Big Show.
The Big Show, yeah.
Was fine as a background, whatever. When people are watching The Big Bang Theory or whatever in the background, it's fine. It's inoffensive. So there's stuff you can mine from that. So that's where I'll give it the edge. But I will admit that 3 and 4 were very close because there's stuff I love from The Rock, and then there's stuff I love from The Field.
Did 8-year-old you love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Secret of the Ooze? Or
no?
Did anybody else have The Field at number 3?
I do.
Rosa! You didn't like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles either?
I'm beginning to see why I was part of Bitesize Reviews. You know what? I think I'm in the. I unlike Nick, I did like a lot The Princess Bride a lot, and I think that film alone just puts away anything The Rock has done. So for me, it was a bit more easier to put The Field at number 3 and The Rock at 4. But yeah, I think that man. What was the film I just watched? I don't know, it was last year. My reference of time has been completely non-existent ever since COVID happened. But yes. I think it was Dog, the Channing Tatum one, where was it Kevin Nash, where he makes an appearance as, I don't know, he owns a house and I don't know if he's growing marijuana or whatever. Anyway, so he has like a little cameo, and I was just delighted by it. So it's just those little instances and moments that just make anything The Rock has been in a little bit more appealing to me. And a movie for me goes a long way if it has the rewatchability factor. And I'm probably more inclined to watch any of these films than my number 4 pick. So yeah, I also have The Field at number 3.
All right, I guess we're gonna keep it going. Kris, we're coming back to you, Mr. Professor. Who is your number 3?
My number 3 is gonna be probably John Cena.
Yes.
And I because I do love The Peacemaker. I do think that that's head and shoulders the best thing he's ever done. animation Ferdinand is all the Disney and Pixar stuff is better than Ferdinand. It's just for me, John Cena. The problems that Rosa has with The Rock are the issues that I have with John Cena. Like even me not picking him at number 4 was a charity pick because is just, you know, I do think Bautista is a better actor than John Cena, but I can do without blockers and the shit that he just did with Lil Rel.
Vacation Friends was fun. It was fun though.
It was cool, but I can see 1,000 movies like that and
Very true.
Get the
Very
same
true.
gratification. So, you know, John, and in the field, we'll talk about that when I get to it. But right now, John Cena and Bautista, just because of their, I would still say novelty to movies. I'd still, you know, I just in no way can I pick The Rock for number 3 or 4.
Well, I don't have Cena at number 3 because I had him at number 4. So Dante, are you with him or do you have somebody else?
So I was nervous when I originally made this pick because I thought I was going to be on a little more of the hot take side. But after hearing you guys put The Rock at number 4, I'm very happy you broke the ice for me. I'm putting The Rock at number 3. Now, let me start with this. I have a soft spot for Mr. Dwayne Johnson, okay? Me and him go way back. Back when I was in high school, we had a like a spirit week type of thing my senior year, and it was we had specific day, like pajama day, sports day, like throwback day, whatever it was. So one of the days for throwback day, I dressed up as The Rock. With the fanny pack, the turtleneck sweater, the hair, all I went.
Did you have the tissue paper to put down when he leaned on it?
I specifically made sure I had multiple things of tissue paper just in case something happened to the other one. Well, there was no picture that was going to be taken without the tissue paper. Don't worry. So my friends were like, "Oh, like you should tweet this at him. Like he'd love it." Well, I'm like, I was like, he ain't gonna see it. I was like, he has like 10, 20 million followers on Twitter. So I tweeted at him, nothing. And I realized my account was private, so I was like, "Oh yeah, there's no way he's gonna see this." So I made it public, retweeted at him. 10:30 at night, I'm in the middle of writing an essay for English that was due the next day. I get a tweet notification from The Rock, and he tweeted a swag king at me, called me swag king, and
lovely.
Yeah, I tell that story to everyone. It's one of my favorite stories in the world. So me and him are basically like best friends, which makes it hard for me to put him at 3. You know, because. I loved him, obviously, in wrestling, but we're separating the wrestler from the actor. For every good movie that there is with The Rock, I feel like there is at least 1 or 2 bad movies with The Rock. I walk out of a Rock movie, there's a better chance I'll be disappointed than I am happy with how the movie went. There are some movies that I think are really good, but like for me personally, I'm not a Fast and Furious person. I just could care less about that franchise. So, like, those movies don't really, like, I know he played a big part in some of those. I don't really care much for it. I think there's a lot of duds, like Black Adam. I mean, that could have been a whole lot better than what it was. And I think he kind of just, like, ruined the direction of what they were doing there. But I think there are some, like, really funny movies, like Central Intelligence with Kevin Hart, I thought was really funny. Even back in the day, he was in Get Smart, that little FBI, CIA movie. Like, I was younger. Yes, so like I was younger when it came out, but like there are some movies I go back and I enjoy. The first Jumanji I thought was cool it was different, but I think there's a lot. But like I said, for each good movie there is, I think there's a bad one. So I hate it. I love The Rock as a person, and I do think he's a superstar. You put him in any movie, it'll be one of the best-selling movies that week, that year. Like there's no doubt. Like he can turn any movie, like a bad movie, into just like a relevant movie. But I don't think he's as good of an actor as my last 2 people, Bautista or Cena, in my opinion.
Dante, this were like 10, maybe 15 years ago, I would call you crazy because The Rundown is one of my favorite movies ever. The Mummy franchise, well, the first 2, are one of my favorite things ever. But I'm with you. The Rock is also my number 3. just because like Fast Five is great. I like Fast Five, got me back into it. And again, I love those other movies. Ballers was supposed to be my continuation of Entourage. And it just didn't hit for me like that, like Entourage did. It just did not. So for me, the Rock has also had to be my number 3. Just looking at the movies, looking at just the list of things that either The Field or Bautista has, I'm like, there's no way that my love for The Rundown or my love for The Mummy Returns overtakes my absolute love for the other things that they have. And yes, Black Adam was just a big, like, I was like, you know what, this is fun until the damn zombies. And I was like, yep, that's you killed a great Pierce Brosnan performance. You killed a great Aldous Hodge performance. I don't like you right now. So I'm with you on that. I did also have The Rock at number 3. And as a recap, before we get into our number ones, me and Dante did have The Rock at 3. Nick and Rosa had The Field, and Kris had Mr. Cena at number 3. So we're going to get into our number ones. But before we do that, as always, please go to bitesizebreakdown.com. We got a lot of good things going on over there. This weekend is a pretty MCU heavy weekend with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 coming out. We do have our review that is up. And then look back at there on Monday because a certain person hasn't been able to see it yet. So it'll be added on there later. Also, my most recent article, me and Joseph are having a little debate over email about whether or not the MCU is actually dead or not, like what's going on with Phase 4. Check that out. And in about an hour on this very channel, we have our first video bite-sized chat. That man right there got to talk with one Kraglin himself, Mr. Sean Gunn. And that interview will be going up right after this episode of One Gotta Stay. But with that, I'm going to show the numbers for how many people saved what. And we got one person who saved The Field. One person who we already know who it is, saved The Rock. And everybody else, which I thought I was worried was going to happen, saving one Mr. Bautista. But there is no way that I'm losing Friday or The Fifth Element or Mad Max Fury Road. The Field was my choice from the jump. It kills me that I have to lose The Avengers. Like, that is the worst thing ever. But The Princess Bride, The Fifth Element, Friday, next Friday, My Childhood, and just so many other things that, like, Spider-Man. There's so many movies with so many wrestlers that you don't realize they're wrestlers, and you're like, oh, yeah, the Field was my choice. I love Bautista. But other than that, we got Professor Kris who had The Rock, and everybody else had Bautista. Y'all, why are y'all wrong? Why are y'all absolutely wrong?
Listen, it's subjective, right? Movies are subjective. It's up to everyone's personal preference. If you don't mind me jumping in.
No, go ahead. Go at it, y'all.
Batista's my number 1. I actually, each movie that he comes out with that I see, I get more and more impressed with him because I think he just continuously gets better as an actor. Someone mentioned it earlier. I believe he is the best character actor out of all of these people. I just think he's proven, like, he's not just like some big body, like that can be a muscle in a movie. He can be a comedy star. He can be drama. He can play that role. Just his work, any movie that I've seen him in, I don't think I've ever had a critique of like what he's done in it. I'm not saying like Knock at the Cabin. I think the movie I thought it was a really good movie. I think it could have been better, but I thought Bautista was like the star of that movie. I was just so impressed from start to finish how he was able to carry his role, just stay on course with it. And then like Guardians of the Galaxy, I just think his role as Drax is so good. I absolutely love him in Guardians of the Galaxy. I think he is his sample size isn't as big as the Cena's, The Rocks, or anything like that. But I think as time goes on, people will start to see that, you know, out of all the WWE stars turned actors or actresses, Bautista, I think, is going to go down as the best to do it. I really do. I think he's on that trajectory, and I love anything he's in. Any movie that he's in that's out in theaters, I will go see because of him. So that's why he's my number 1.
I don't disagree. Again, you see the wall. Avengers is like my thing.
Yeah.
I will, and that's why he's my number 2. Just the only thing, as you said, the only reason he's not my number 1 is because of the timeline. He hasn't been acting as long, so he doesn't have as many movies. I will say this: the one movie that a lot of people shit on, and I didn't know why when I left, Hotel Artemis is a very, very good movie to me. And that's when he started to show it. But again, my childhood and just so many other things. That's why I had to get the field. But everybody else, continue on where you at.
So, I mean,
go Rosa.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be quick because I completely concur with everything Dante just said. And in my case, I'm a quality over quantity kind of gal. So everything that Bautista has given me is certainly just been incredible. He's the most versatile of all the wrestlers I've ever seen, with his acting skills. And out of everybody we were talking about, his performance, particularly in Volume 3 of Guardians, he's been the only wrestler to actually make me cry. So that definitely goes a long way. And for me, Bautista is just easily the best actor here. And another thing, every time I'm seeing him on screen, whether it's 5 minutes in a very highly prestigious film or in an ensemble like Glass Onion, he makes me forget that I'm watching, that he's coming from a wrestling background, and that's not easy to do. Every time I see The Rock or I see even John Cena, even though I had Cena at number 2, there's shades of like, okay, yeah, he's the wrestler, and he's the wrestler, and perhaps because they were the top of the game, like The Rock and John Cena. But Bautista certainly makes me forget about that, and I see he just becomes the character he's displaying here. So for that reason alone, he's easily my number 1.
Yeah. I got one day to see that last Guardians role. I'll be seeing it tomorrow. I will say in Volume 2, I did not like him very much, but he came. He brought me back. He brought me back with the holiday special. But Nick, you can keep going with Bautista unless Kris, you're tired of this Rock slander.
I'll go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry.
I'll get a little bit in on Bautista because I feel like no one's really gotten to defend Cena. So I'll do that after Kris goes to bat for The Rock. But just on Bautista, I think a lot of really good points were made. He's definitely someone that which this is rare, not just for a wrestler, just actors in general. Every next role he does, he genuinely seems to be getting better. At the craft of acting, he's really getting it going. I like that. And he's probably, out of any of the wrestlers that have gone to acting, he's the only one I could see ever being in an awards conversation at any point. That time has passed for The Rock. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen for Cena. Bautista,
I could see it happen for all 4 of them. I'll just say that. I really do.
I think I agree with Kris. I feel like if The Rock was given the right thing and actually took it seriously, he might. Yeah. I don't know about Cena. Cena's a bit away from me.
Okay. I'm gonna say this about The Rock. Because
go ahead. That's the point of the show.
This is gonna be
go off.
The way the Lakers are doing right now, this take doesn't sound as great currently. But The Rock reminds me a lot of LeBron James in the fact that I think he gets in his own way a little bit. When LeBron tries to manage the team, I don't think that's what he's best at. I don't think he's best when he's picking the players that he plays with and stuff like that. I think if you give it up to someone else to let LeBron be LeBron and then surround him with other people, not with the Westbrooks of the world and the things that don't work.
Hey, he did well when he got traded to the Clippers. Don't do that.
The Rock does that a lot. He works with a very limited number of directors. He works with a very particular type of script. I think since Be Cool, The Rock doesn't like being seen in a certain light on film anymore. Ever since the Disney era, he doesn't really want to make fun of himself. It's just, and very similar to his film buddy Kevin Hart, they've become oversaturated. Where if you enjoyed them at one point, there's so much in your face, there's so much around all the time that, it's not the cool guy from The Rundown that we watched doing the rock bottom growing up. Now he's in Fast. He's in this movie. He's in this Disney movie. He's in this commercial. He's in Ballers. Like, it's all this stuff with him. He's doing these workout videos. He's promoting. He owns the CFL in Canada. Like, he's putting himself so front and center that
he raps with Tech 9 for some reason.
He does it all. But yeah, that is the one thing about The Rock that I think really hurts him in that sense. But yeah, going back to Bautista, I think everyone kind of said what needed to be said about him.
I haven't said what needed to be said about Batista yet. But.
He is the MVP of Volume 3. Rosa is 100% right. He is the best part of that movie, and he's the one I'm most interested in seeing where he goes next. The floor is yours, Kris. Defend.
Chris, back your boy up. Back your boy up.
Okay.
Here we go.
So, first, I'm gonna have to bring us back down to earth with Dave Bautista because I do like Dave Bautista, but he's in a lot of shitty movies. He is. He's. Have you seen House of the Rising Sun?
His early career is littered with just dead movies.
Dead movies. He is in LA Slasher, which I fucking hate. Escape Plan 2. Let me see. Kickboxer Vengeance. This guy is not in. He's not this. He's got his bad movies as well. I think when you are a wrestler, that's just part of the course. Not everything is gonna hit. You're gonna be in bad movies. That's a requirement for a wrestler because you're gonna have to climb the ladder to see what you're good in, what your niche is in, right? I'm a defender of Black Adam. I like Black Adam. I thought that the studio tried to sabotage The Rock when it comes to Black Adam. I think that, to me, this is just if I had the choice of who was gonna cameo in Black Adam, Henry Cavill, who's Superman, or Zach Levi, who nobody fucking knows, I'm picking Superman. That's an easy choice to me. Yes. You know, I think the way the internet geeks got on his case for that made no sense to me, right? And I think like in The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, I think I'm going to talk about the wrestling career just a little, but I'm going to bring it back to movies. Like, people have this, like, they wax poetic about the Attitude Era and all that stuff. The reason why the Attitude Era was what it was because of The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Neither guy could be contained in wrestling. And that was that's why he became a movie star, because his career was just, his cup was just running over so much that he couldn't be just doing these movies. I can't even imagine The Rock doing a WWE film. It was not conceivable to me on any level. And I think that The Rock's good movies are movies that I like, and I think that anytime I'm looking at my tablet, because I did take notes on this. You know, I want to make sure that I'm not just.
Well, we've had plenty note takers to make sure they back up what they're saying for sure.
Yeah.
We got Dave Bautista's Wikipedia right here. Don't worry.
Yes.
Yeah. So I like I said, for me, like, when it comes to just sheer personalities and wrestlers doing movies, I think The Rock is just head and shoulders above everybody else. Factually speaking, he is above everybody else. But when I'm speaking just on opinion, I think The Rock, you can put The Rock in a movie and you can guarantee that the movie isn't going to be a massive flop. That's where he's at in his career. People might not like it, but if you're in a movie with The Rock, your career could definitely go up a level is why I defend The Rock on his movies. And The Rock is in shitty movies too. Like I said, the
Southland Tales.
Yeah, Southland Tales is horrible. But me and my brother did like. I thought the Tooth Fairy. If you're a kid and you like those kind of cutesy movies, that will be your thing. You know, if you're a grown man expecting to get entertainment value from the Tooth Fairy, then you know it is what it is. You know, you're not gonna like it. But I think that as far as just him being in movies, it's like with because I remember everybody used to say, the Godfather was so over in the Attitude Era, and Val Venis was so over in the Attitude Era. And I'm like, no, The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin were over in that era. And them being in the movie, in the Attitude Era, you got to reap the benefits of it, right? And I think that's just kind of how The Rock's career is. I could never see Bautista in a movie and it make the money that The Rock's movie is going to make with just his name value. I think Bautista's got to be in a brand that's bigger than himself. And I don't think The Rock has to do that. I think that's the thing with a lot of those Avengers actors is they benefit from being in the Avengers, except for like Robert Downey Jr. and a few others. Scarlett Johansson, she headlines movies on her own. But for a lot of those cats, it's like the brand that you are in, you're a benefactor of that brand. And The Rock's brand stands on its own. It's bigger than WWE's brand, and it's bigger than most of the movies that he does.
I agree with that, and that's why he wasn't my number 4. Bautista was my number 2 because I think his lane is going to be, as Nick said, he's going to be the actor's actor, and I think his movies are carrying over from Marvel, but also being able to bring whatever he's in Dune now, I'm actually probably most interested in what he is going to come and that's bringing. That's why he is my number 2 on top of the Avengers love. But Nick, Dante, and Rosa, y'all also had Cena at number 2. If you want to just give a quick rundown and any quick final thoughts you have about the list in general before we wrap it up.
I just think John Cena is funny as fuck, honestly. Mm-hmm. I think like you find what you're good at. I think he's really good at comedy and stuff like that. I like him more in those types of movies than like where he's like, again, like Batista, like big muscle guy, like, you know, like not a villain per se, but, you know, playing that type of role based off of how he looks. He's actually really funny. I actually really enjoy a lot of the work he's in. If I'm going to see a John Cena movie, I'm more likely to walk out of it with a smile on my face, like knowing that John Cena did a pretty good job, than I am going to be disappointed. So that's kind of why I put him at number 2.
And I think the thing about Cena that's kind of cool, where he's not as big a film name as people like The Rock or Bautista are becoming, is he can do these roles like Trainwreck or was it Sisters, where he played the drug dealer?
Yes. Sisters.
Where he just pops in for these roles and he's memorable and he's funny and he doesn't need to be the headliner. He can be. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Vacation Friends and Lil Rel. In a lot of the movies Lil Rel does, he is the side character that has his moments and he's memorable and then he goes away. Right. And I think that's honestly some of where Cena's best work comes, is when he pops in, he provides you with some comedy and he leaves. Now, I don't stand for the Blocker slander because I really enjoy that movie. I think Blocker is one of the better comedies to come out in the last 10 years. Well, I guess maybe longer than 10 years now, but
for me, it's the Judd Apatow slander more so than it is. I think because James Gunn, I think the genius of James Gunn is what helps Bautista and John Cena out. I think he's a good director that finds the wrestler's strengths and what they're good in. I don't know if I'd like John Cena or Bautista as much without James Gunn.
And see, with Cena, I think you're on the ball there. That I'm hoping, and based on kind of his film choices, he gets what he is. And that's not a negative thing. Sometimes you find your niche and you stick in it because you do it well. And I don't really want to see, like, if we're comparing, let's say, Cena to Arnold Schwarzenegger, I want to see Cena do Jingle All the Way. I don't want to see Cena do Terminator. He's not made for that. I want to see him do the comedy. I want to see him do that kind of stuff. I think he excels at that. And he kind of stays in his lane, at least lately. And if he continues doing that, I don't think people are going to get tired of him the way that certain people are of other people on this list.
Also, forgot to mention it when I was talking. Peacemaker. We've talked about it a few times.
Yeah.
Love it. The opening to it, the opening little skit they have is top tier. Top tier. And like the Suicide Squad, I'm not like the second one is head and shoulders better than the first one. I'm not saying Cena's the reason why. There's a few different reasons why. But Peacemaker is a big reason why the Suicide Squad actually like had a good comeback or a second movie per se. So I agree with what you guys are saying. There are some movies where he's not the star of it, where he just makes those little like cameos and it's memorable. Like Daddy's Home 1 and 2. I think those two movies as well. Just like the tiniest little cameos, but it goes such a long way. I walk out of it like being one of my favorite scenes of that movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Rosa, what about you?
No, I agree. I think that the similarities of Bautista and Cena is probably what was earlier emphasized about The Rock. The Rock is the standalone brand name, whereas Bautista and Cena, they're more of an ensemble kind of dudes, and that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine because they, to me, it's a bit more. It speaks more about not only your ability to collaborate with others, but it speaks to the value of your talent, that you are in an ensemble like the Suicide Squad, and yet you can still stand out. You can still be memorable, and that takes a lot. A lot of not being too full of yourself, per se, and I'm not trying to put words in my mouth here or anything. But
are you suggesting that there were issues with the Fast and Furious crew?
I mean, those issues. I mean, that's a whole different.
Neither here nor there.
Yeah. But no, I think John Cena, perhaps being the newer wrestler in the acting game here, is why he's my number 2. And Bautista does have more of a prestigious, in my eyes, filmography than Cena or The Rock. And for the emphasize what Nick was saying, out of all of them, I can see Bautista being an awards contender here. And he has the ability, he can do it. He can definitely do it. I mean, he has been an Academy Award nominated film. So like Glass Onion. So to me, it's John Cena. I mean, I grew up watching a lot of his work in the WWE, and he knows what he can offer. He doesn't try to overdo it, overachieve it, anything, and that's what works for them, for both of them. Just that Bautista, in my eyes, is the best actor here.
And then Kris, just to wrap it up, I know you also had the field at number 2. So your final thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, the field. And see, there's just too many good movies in here. I can't live without The Dark Knight. They Live. I spent so much time as a kid watching that. There's just way too many movies on the field. There's some shitty ones too, though. That I could definitely live without. Any Edge movie. I liked him on that show, that sci-fi show he was on.
Haven.
I saw a few. Haven, that was okay. His movies are just not good. He's got this one with Jamie Kennedy that is just so horrible.
You said Jamie Kennedy.
Oh, he had one called Money Plane that was just brutal.
Yeah, that one. There's just too many bad. There's a lot of bad ones on there, but there's a lot of good ones on there too. The field. For me, it's like I said, the Rock. We don't need to go over that again. To me, the Rock is going to be number 1 for now, and I do think that all like Bautista, the Rock, and Cena, I wouldn't be surprised at any of them getting any kind of award consideration. I definitely think that they, paired with the right director, they can be there could be up for award contention. I really truly do believe that.
I don't disagree, but I want to thank y'all for coming on. I appreciate it. We're going to start over. Dr. Professor Kris, just let people know where they can find you, any podcasts they got coming up, what you got going on.
Oh yeah, so you could follow me on Twitter at KMEasyDoesIt. You can read my articles at WrestleNomics.com. I got an opinion piece right now on the racism lawsuit that's going on in WWE, and I got plenty of receipts to back up my opinion. So just check that out as well. And thank you. It feels like this has been decades in the making, even though like I've only met you like a few weeks ago. So.
I again just meet you a few weeks ago, and you are by far one of the nicest, kindest people I've interacted with. So I really appreciate you coming on so much. Also appreciate you, Dante. So Dante, just let people know where they can find you and what you got going on.
Absolutely. You can follow me on Twitter at Dante on Deck. I'm part of Stache Club Wrestling with my co-host John on YouTube, any streaming service you listen to your podcasts. We're on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. You can follow us all over the place. But if you're a wrestling fan, you like to talk, we have our weekly podcast, but we have quizzes as well, like just different from all different eras and stuff, different topics. We also do WWE 2K23. We have a series playing the GM mode as well. So if you're
Dante
into that,
Roberts.
hey, yeah, keep an eye on the next few videos. You'll have a nice surprise with him. But yeah, so check us out on YouTube, everything like that. If you want to have a good time talking some wrestling.
Yeah, and last but not least, Ms. Parra, Rosa, let the people know where they can find you.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Letterboxd at Rosa's Reviews. And yeah, my review for Guardians Volume 3 should be coming up either later today or tomorrow at thedailychela.com. So yeah, thank you for the invite. This was neat.
Post wrestling too. I forgot to mention
post wrestling
with NWA podcast. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Rue, if I can jump in for a minute.
Yes, sir.
I just want to take my time to, I grew up on John and Way, who are the founders of Post Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a wrestling fan, I'm not saying it's just because they're based out of here in Toronto. It is fantastic. John Pollock is one of the best reporters in the WWE pro wrestling MMA space. And Wei Ting, I've met both of them. They're genuinely great people. Check out Post Wrestling if you like wrestling. That you won't regret it. They're fantastic.
Yeah. And a final recap before we get out of here. This is the order we had today, where I kept the field. Nick, Dante, and Rosa all kept Bautista, where Nick and Rosa had the exact same list. Yeah. And Kris, he was backing up his boy, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. But as always, at the end of One Gotta Stay, I got to have my riddle for next episode. So on the next episode, we're thinking about the month of May, and the month of May is the start of a pretty big month for genre blockbusters, but it's also a big month for teachers because we got one number on our mind, the number 3, because it's 3 months of bliss where we can do whatever we want, whenever we want. We can go outdoors, climbing up mountains, looking for flowers, or joyriding through cities. We could stay in, maybe make a fire mixtape, or play some virtual reality. We can visit some local places, like go to a wrestling match maybe, or watch a play, or go with a couple of friends to see landmarks in the city. Shoot, if you got the time or the money, maybe even see some landmarks abroad. Well, I know when you go abroad, the craziness of the airport can be a lot, but as long as when you get on that plane, the ride isn't going up and down like an elevator, it's going to be much better than trying to run the hallways, avoiding kids. They're sticking their tongue out at you or their middle finger, making you feel like you're going crazy, wanting to go run through wall after wall after wall, yelling your own name. With that, for Nick, for Kris, for Dante, and for Rosa, thank you all for coming. We are out of here.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.